What conspiracy theory do you completely believe is true? Just a casual fan of this one, but that Christopher Walken knows whether Natalie Wood's death was an accident or not. Yeah, I think this too. He was there the whole time. Boat's not all that big. He knows for sure. College board isn't non-profit. Every high school student just sided understanding. Teachers too. I used to start my APSIC class, do you want to pass a test? Or learn some sweet crap about your brain? Once I knew that the kids who cared about the test, the class was super fun. And I just gave extra test prep to the kids who wanted it. Usually had a handful pass and none of the bullshit teaching to a test. Dude, I loved my APSIC teacher. Such a fun class. I'm in the Navy and we change uniforms a lot compared to other branches. There's a conspiracy theory that there's a rear admiral whose wife has stocks in the company that makes our uniform. I just randomly heard someone talking about it. I have zero evidence that it's true, but I 100% believe it. Edit. Told this to Mike Walker, who added to the conspiracy cause. He said the people who sell our uniforms is run by a rear admiral. The plot thickens. Edit 2. Apparently there's more people saying there's more to the conspiracy, so if you see this be sure to head into the replies and give them some upvotes. This kinda blew up and you guys rock. Yeah, the Navy seems to change their uniforms way too much. Op is likely right. The military is the human centipede of nepotism spending. If private companies want to make any money off the military, you better hire influential ex-military. I worked for one of these companies. We supplied software for Navy aircraft systems. They spent millions for this software. The company that was providing the software was run by an ex-high-ranking Navy man, Puppet Seer. The software was the exact same they already had and owned intellectual rights to, an older version. By the time this shitty run company provided the Navy with this new copied version of the software, the tech stack was already so outdated and the original software vendor had better versions. I was told it was over 100 million spent. This for something they already had. Disney absolutely believed that Hillary Clinton was going to win the 2016 election. So they started building her animatronic for the Hall of Presidents well in advance. And after Trump pulled off a victory, instead of starting from scratch, they just kinda made a couple half-assed adjustments to the Hillary model and put it up on stage. I read this and immediately didn't believe it. Then I saw the picture. Either this theory is 100% true or Disney, the undisputed pioneers in everything theme park related, suddenly became the worst engineers in the world for exactly as long as it took to build this animatronic. Or it was an intentional act of pure contempt. Britney is the highest profile Disney rape victim we might probably ever know about. Her mental breaks were the result of sexual and physical abuse from her handlers, her parents, and people she worked with at Disney. The conservatorship she's been trying to get lifted is one designed to keep her silent. Because the momentum of the #MeToo movement as well as the high profile cases against Hollywood folks will result in a huge financial hit to Disney. If we hear that Britney couldn't take it anymore and killed herself, it's most likely the result of everyone in her life trying to control and manipulate her, and they will likely kill her under guise of suicide. Reminds me of that story about one song that she gave to that radio station one night. She came uninvited, bare feet, and did a Q&A about her new album. Then suddenly the album never happened. The lyrics to the song that they played on the radio got changed to the point where it sounded like she's crying for help or something. It was kinda creepy to me. Mona Lisa. I still remember the night that happened. The LJ community I was on went wild. Oh LJ, it's been so long since I thought about you. Well, the government is listening to everyone's phone calls, and reading our emails was once considered a conspiracy theory, and we all know how that turned out. Many years ago, I walked into a Barnes & Noble and spotted a guy sitting alone at a card table near the entrance. The table stacked with books. We had a nice chat. He told me how he got started writing the book, his first. He was teaching at a prep school where the Secret Service showed up at 7 AM and banged on a dorm door. The student had emailed the night before, words to the effect that someone should shoot the president. That got the author interested in the NSA, and he wrote a novel about it. While researching the book, He was emailing with various ex-NSA people to get background on the agency. One time he emailed, should we be encrypting these emails? He received a reply stating, 1. There isn't any encryption you could do that would hinder the NSA. 2. I'm not telling you anything I shouldn't. And 3. The plutonium arrives on Thursday. Praise Allah. Dan Brown before he hit it big. There isn't any encryption you could do that would hinder the NSA and promote this nonsense. The NSA has a lot of resources. Sure. But encryption is math. If your key requires 200k years to decrypt, there's nothing the NSA can do about it. Shelly Miscavige is either dead or being held prisoner by the Church of Scientology. Aren't they the only two options available for her? Witness protection, I guess. I like that there is a possibility of a positive reason she's missing. J. Edgar Hoover had ties to the mob and gave preferential treatment to certain crime families/organizations while crushing others. Also, his stranglehold on American intelligence made him a figure presidents feared. My understanding was that, specifically, the mob had photos of him and his boyfriend doing, ick now, boyfriend stuff, which is a pretty intense threat when you're the no queers or commas guy. They had a habit of staying at a mob-owned hotel together. Awful compromising position to put yourself in if you're the surveillance czar, and a hell of a coincidence at that. Not to mention that his best friend Clyde Tolson was Hoover's beneficiary in his will, moved into Hoover's house after he died, and is buried in the same row at the Congressional Cemetery in Washington, D.C. He retired from the FBI 3 days after Hoover died and accepted the flag at his funeral. They vacationed together, took all their meals together, socialized together. I don't know that the mob had anything on him, but if Hoover and Tolson weren't lovers, then it must have been one hell of a relationship. OMG bestie goals. Not a specific theory, but I have no doubt that the majority of leaks for the entertainment industry, video games, movies, TV, etc., are completely purposeful and meant to gauge general opinions before official announcements. They are called trial balloons and they absolutely exist. They exist in politics. They exist in products. They exist in every industry with any amount of money. In law enforcement too. Sometimes investigators leak particular facts to the press in order to see how certain individuals respond to it. Maybe not Tupac, but at least one celebrity has faked their death and is still out there. If it's anyone, it's Andy Kaufman. Kaufman sure seems like the most likely to do such a thing. On the other hand, Kaufman's siblings would have to be in on it. They've all made statements that they watched him deteriorate from cancer in a way that can't be faked and attended his open casket funeral. My personal opinion, Kaufman was believed to have died in 1984. He was such a troll. It's doubtful he could have kept his mouth shut and stayed hidden until 1985, let alone past 1999 when Man in the Moon came out in theaters. He faked faking his own death. This is the more Kaufman-esque prank. Imo. Anyone can fake their death. But the true novel prank is to learn that you are actually dying. Then tell a bunch of people you're planning to fake your death. And leave generations of people scratching their head while you're laughing it up from beyond the grave. All that stupid stuff shared on Facebook is just a way for people to mine your information for forgotten passwords, resets and stuff. Things like but no one remembers the street they grew up on. I'll wait. Or what would your name be if you took your mom's name instead of your dad's? Actually, how hacking is mainly done, lol. Not much hacking into the mainframe. Mostly just social engineering. The Big Mac has gotten smaller so McDonald's saves some money. I dunno. But I swear the Big Mac used to be bigger. Or maybe I'm just fatter. This is a pretty common business tactic. And there's been a hell of a lot of research into it. Companies know consumers are happier paying the same amount for a, often unnoticeable, reduced portion rather than seeing a price increase for the same item. It's called shrinkflation. Have you seen how now Oreos have a family size? Now that I'm 100% sure used to be the normal size packing. They also just came out with Oreo Thins, which are more expensive and entirely sacrilegious. The Department of Transportation bought way too many orange barrels, so most of them have to be stored on highways. You deserve an upvote. I literally travel past miles of barrels on a daily basis and rarely see anyone working. I saw a really informative response about this the other day. I wish I could even remember what sub it was in. But the part that stuck with me was they said they'll put the barrels out once to avoid moving them on and off the road repeatedly. And that in the early phases of construction a lot of the work is surveying etc. and then waiting for approvals or whatever. So somebody is out there for an hour or two infrequently during a week or month. But the time and cost/labor to move the barrels back and forth doesn't make it worth it for brief trips.